What's going on, guys? What's going on? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm going to say welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. Now, today I have some interesting updates on Kanye West. I know we've been talking about Kanye a little bit, and there's a lot to talk about. and this morning, my son brought to my attention that Kanye mentioned Dr. Claude Anderson today. He mentioned Dr. Claude Anderson as something that we need instead of just Black Lives Matter. I'm going to break some of this down for you and kind of explain the gravity of that statement and give some backdrop to it. So if you want to hang out, get comfortable, buckle up your seatbelt. We're going to get started on drboycetv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are,
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. And I want to say happy Saturday to everybody who's watching this live. If you're watching the recording, it's okay because the information and the knowledge is still good. Anyway, do me a favor. Let me know what city you're from as you hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. Everybody, please do that. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And let me know what city you're from, and I'll shout out the city. What's up on Instagram? My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. And we're going to jump into our topic today. And at the end of the conversation, I'll actually talk, since we talk about stocks and stuff like that on this channel, I'll let you guys know about a stock that I just started buying that I think is going to do really well long term. So just remind me, I'll do this toward the end of the conversation if you hang out with us. So what's going on, Colin from Pittsburgh and Michael Johnson from Chicago? I see Montclair, Suwanee, Georgia, Owensboro, Kentucky, Montez. I'm from Kentucky. Good to see you. Salim from Louisville. I'm actually from Louisville. Very nice. I spoke to Layla Ali and her husband the other day, Curtis, brother named Curtis, who is just the coolest guy ever. I talked to him for 3 hours. I said, man, I don't think I've talked to another dude for 3 hours on the phone in like 20 years. But Curtis was that cool of a guy. Curtis Conway, I think that was his last name. Real smart brother, had a lot of respect from, a lot of intelligence. These are the great Black men I love hanging out with. I see Seattle, Baton Rouge, Toronto, Canada, New York City, Virginia. Hello, Maryland for Cindy, Sammy out of Houston, Daniel out of San Antonio, Louisville in the house. I see that. I see you, Ken Ellis in Las Vegas and Montclair, New Jersey. All right. So give me a yes or no. Yes or no. How many of you saw that Kanye West decided to invoke the name of Dr. Claude Anderson on his Instagram today? Did anybody else see that? Where Kanye was he's Kanye's Kanye. That's going to be my little statement, my code for saying I don't understand everything this brother does. I ain't gonna lie. I don't get everything about Kanye. But I really feel like deep down he's trying to do the right thing in a lot of ways. I think that he's struggling. I can only imagine the pressure that he's under from just the politics and all that. But anyway, so let me just tell you what happened. So my son, you guys know I get the pleasure of being the bonus dad of an awesome 19-year-old who's 6'7" and super smart, and gets tired of everybody asking why he doesn't play basketball. And I want to punch him in the face and say, well, why can't he be smart too? Why does he have to be a basketball player just because he's tall? He's actually 10 times taller in terms of intellect, and so we got to stop letting people box our kids in like that. But anyway, he came to me. He said, "Yeah, did you see what Kanye said today?" I said, "What? What did he say?" He said White Lives Matter last week, which I didn't get that. And he said, no, he talked about Dr. Claude Anderson and Ice Cube and blah, blah. So these are friends of mine. Ice Cube and I, Ice Cube's been on this platform, and Dr. Claude was on here 2 days ago. So of course I was curious. I was like, okay, wow, let me scroll. Let me see this. What did he say? And basically it looked like it was like he was doing this interesting thing where he was sharing all these text messages, which I'm gonna tell you the truth, I'm not a fan of that. If you have a private conversation with somebody, keep that private. And then also on the flip side of this is a little Uncle Boyce game for anybody. Never text or type something that you wouldn't want the whole world to see, because anything you share digitally, including naked pictures of yourself, can be shared worldwide. So just keep that in mind. That's just a little thought. But anyway, so Kanye is sharing all these private text messages he's having with all these people. Kanye, if you hear this, let's talk about that, man. You can't do that. You can't do it. But then again, he does what he wants. And in one of the text messages, he's debating with somebody about power, and he talks about the importance of things like water and energy, etc., which I completely agree with all that. I thought that was a great, profound statement. And then at the end, he mentions that Ice Cube and Dr. Claude Anderson should be put in a room together instead of Black Lives Matter, instead of us depending on Black Lives Matter. First of all, I approve that statement. I can't co-sign everything Kanye says and does, but I must give credit where it's due. In this particular case, Kanye was saying something that made sense. And if you haven't been following, if you've been paying attention at all, you'll notice Kanye just did a really interesting interview on Fox News the other day. And it's unfortunate that Fox News becomes one of the few places where Black men are allowed to go speak without being told what to say, without being forced to speak some programmable computer language that's been fed to them by the powerful Black women working for Joe Biden. The reality, what's interesting is that freedom of speech is really an illusion. Kanye is one of the few people in this country that actually does have freedom of speech, because everybody else, if you say something that they don't like, give me a yes in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. If you say what they don't like, what do they do? Do the liberals say, oh, well, we're liberals and we believe in everyone's rights and we want to protect everybody's freedom, so you can say what you want and speak your piece, and even if we disagree, that's okay. Do they do that? Or do they say, oh, shut up, you're a bigot, you're a racist, you need to shut down, you fat shaming, you don't have no right to talk? But then at the same time, I simultaneously turn on NPR and I hear Stacey Abrams, God bless her, hope she wins as governor. I mean, it ain't gonna change nobody's lives for real, in my opinion, but whatever. If you want to vote for her, go for it. Please do what you do. This is one of those few places where you're gonna come and I'm gonna actually literally tell you to do what you want to do. Like, I know that's weird. I know you don't hear that anywhere else, but I'm literally saying, do you? So she's doing Stacey, which I approve. So she's like, they're taking away the rights of women because a woman can't go anywhere in the South and get an abortion because they're trampling on the rights of women, 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 the rights of women. And I don't disagree with that. I mean, I'm it's ironic. I'm not really pro-abortion. Abortion doesn't make me comfortable, but I'm probably pro-choice, because I believe, I mean, if you want to go and do what that people do, you know what I'm talking about. I just hope you think about it, because if you ask any grown up, like, do you wish your mother had aborted you? Most people are going to say no, right? So you better get it done before you go ask the baby, before the baby finds out what you were trying to do. And the worst, most awkward thing in the world that I've seen this in real life, where there was a child that was born without knowing that while the child was unborn, that one of their parents wanted to abort the baby. So imagine a child finding out later that somebody didn't even want them here. That's just a terrible feeling. And what's interesting is I did a whole deep dive. I spent an hour reading the history of like Roe versus Wade and who the original Jane Roe was and all that. And one of the issues she had with her daughter was, she said, her daughter, I think she told her daughter something like, you should be glad that I gave birth to you. And the daughter was like, F you. She said, you didn't even want me. You gave me away. You didn't do anything that a mother's supposed to do. Why in the world am I supposed to respect you or thank you for anything? That's what kids do. Eventually kids grow up. And this is one of the things I want to mention. I know I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here. I promise we're going to swing it back to Kanye, because Kanye did actually talk about this issue a little bit. And what I liked about it is that he allowed the other parts of the conversation in that people don't get to have on the left-leaning outlets. Right? They want to act like that no one else has any feelings, or that the children's lives don't really matter that much, or that if you don't make enough money, then you should just get the procedure and that's it. And what's interesting to me is just sort of seeing all the dimensions of that and really thinking through the decisions that you make. That's all I ask. So anyway, with that being said, Kanye's been doing a good job of at least balancing the conversation. In his own awkward way. He's been saying the things that a lot of people are saying that they can't say. He's been speaking out of turn, and they're mad at him. They want to slap him down. They want to smack him like they do all the other black men. They have something to say that when they don't like it, they want to write it off as if something's wrong with us, like we are mentally ill or we are just gone or they need to be sent to a re-education camp or these black men are so toxic that they love. Yeah. And I will just say this. When I talked to Kanye on the phone, one of the first things he told me would be after he told me he was worth $4 billion, which I didn't understand why I needed to know that because I just didn't care. But he did say he was going to run for president. He said that 2020 was practice and that he's really going to run in 2024. And I hope Kanye doesn't mind me mentioning this. I assume the whole world's eventually going to find out. But he said in 2024, he plans to run for president. So, you know, and can he win? I don't know. I mean, can he stay alive that long? I don't know. I imagine they're going to try to come get him. But he stayed alive this long. And it'll be curious. I'll be curious to see how that plays out. Now, let me move into more of what Kanye said today about Dr. Claude Anderson and Powernomics and everything else. Before I do that, if you could, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Share, subscribe if you have not done that yet. And don't forget, October 28th through the 30th this month is the All Black National Convention. This is where we are going to get together in Charlotte, North Carolina, and do a bunch of B1 stuff for the whole weekend. And we've got about 40 different experts on everything from crypto to relationships, to stocks, to politics, anything that Black people need in order for us to heal and connect. That's all been planned out. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this thing. We did it for the community. There is no corporate sponsorship. We did not go to Bank of America and Walmart and Kmart and Coca-Cola. And the reason we didn't is because I don't believe Black liberation can be brought to you by McDonald's. I don't believe you can bring freedom sponsored by Walmart. I'm tired of Black folks being sponsored by everybody else. I'm tired of Black people carrying water for everybody else. I'm tired of Black men acting like you are some sort of disabled, handicapped child that can't do some shit on your own. You can do anything that other man can do. You can do anything that those other people can do for you. Anything they can do for you, you can do for yourself. Same thing with the women. So ultimately, at the end of the day, this convention is all ours. So we own this. We control this. And so ultimately, I just want to invite you guys because you guys did this. You guys supported this, and this is what makes it possible. So if you'd like to join us, I put all the tickets in you can join us virtually or in person. You can go to boycewatkins.com, or if you're watching on Instagram, hit the link in the bio. It's October 28th through the 30th, and it's basically a 3-day a party for intelligent Black people where there's nothing but Black intelligence everywhere. You're going to love it. All right. So Kanye made this Instagram post where he mentions that he thinks Ice Cube and Dr. Claude Anderson should be brought into the same room as opposed to just listening to Black Lives Matter. I don't think that the whole Black Lives Matter movement was garbage. Just in case you want to know my honest thoughts on that, I think that they snuck a poison pill into the movement. What people will do when they try to manipulate you is they will take something that you agree with, like Black Lives Matter. In fact, let me show you the experiment. How many of y'all agree that Black Lives Matter? Give me a yes in the chat. Everybody who believes Black Lives Matter, put yes in the chat. If you don't say anything, then I'm a second guess you. This may not be your platform. Does everybody agree that Black Lives Matter? Give me a yes or no. Okay. All right. So I'm seeing yeses. Thank you, Yo Cannon, and thank you for Chris. Thank you, Deborah. Right. So we all agree. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Yes, they do. But then what happens is with a lot of these movements, that big message, that broad message is well designed by psychologists and sociologists who know how to get inside your head. They have studied you the way you study a rat in a lab. They have figured out what matters to you and what gets you going. The same way that Ward Connerly, if anybody's old enough to remember, does anybody remember Ward Connerly? Well, let me tell you about Ward Connerly if you don't remember him. Ward Connerly was this super interesting Black man in the 1990s who took it upon himself to go state by state fighting against affirmative action. And the way he did that was he would get people to sign his petition without reading the fine print, because I think he called it something like the Civil Rights Bill or the Civil Rights Legislation. So he'd say, hey, would you like to sign this civil rights anti-discrimination legislation? They're like, yeah, I'm against discrimination. I'm pro civil rights, right? And so people were signing this civil rights bill that was literally designed to eliminate affirmative action. He was successful. He got it on the ballot and got it eliminated in a lot of different states. That's why, again, this really speaks to the fact that it's not that so much that white folks don't like you. I don't believe every white person wakes up thinking, how can I oppress a black man today? It's just that they're committed to their system. It's just that they're committed to their own empowerment, their own entitlement. The things they feel entitled to, they feel belong to them. So when you show up and you ask for reparations, they're like, well, you can have it as long as you don't take none of my stuff. Right? That's what it is. Or sure, you can have a job, well, as long as you don't take my job. Right? So this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a competition and you don't realize that. So ultimately, the Black Lives Matter movement was, in my view, similar to Ward Connerly's anti-affirmative action plan, where they put this label Black Lives Matter on it, very simple language, 3 simple words, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Sounds good at a rally, easy to say, everybody gets it, but then there's the fine print. And unlike the rest of the world on this platform for intelligent Black people, we went to the Black Lives Matter website and read the fine print. I spent an hour with you all reading in extreme detail every single policy platform of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I can't tell you how many times I heard words like LGBT, gay, trans, feminism. So it's not that these are bad words. It's not that these are bad things. We have plenty of LGBT people that come on this platform. I love y'all too, for real. We love I'm not here to hate nobody, but it got to the point where I was like, okay, I get it. So this isn't really like a Black Lives Matter movement, or better yet, it's like certain Black lives are going to matter more than others, right? Like that's how politics is played, and it's important that we as a community become politically sophisticated enough to know when you're getting the okie doke. You got to understand when they're trying to get you to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Right? When they try to just stick it in, they try to get you pregnant with a bunch of stupid ideas that you never signed up for in the first place. So a lot of people felt duped by the Black Lives Matter movement, especially after that $100 million was given to the movement by these organizations that thought they were helping the Black community, when really they were just kind of supporting this organization that was doing a bunch of stuff for a specific community. Again, nothing wrong with them, nothing against them, but that's not my movement. I'm not in their target audience. I'm not in their target demographic, not because I hate them, but because I just have a different agenda. Okay. So what Kanye says, thank you, Kanye West, for saying this. By the way, Kanye, if you see this, I know a ton of people that know Kanye, and I told you I talked to him one time, but I don't know him like that. If you ever want to come on this platform and talk, you're always welcome to come in here. That would be awesome. I'd love to just sit and listen to you talk, and you can ramble, and we'll just have fun and talk it out as 2 Black men, because I think Black men need to be allowed to speak. I want y'all to pay attention to how many spaces there are in American politics, particularly at the highest levels, where Black men are not allowed to speak unless they have an opinion that is in alignment with the pre-existing power structure. That's why Joe Biden, when he's doing his election interviews, pay attention, they're going to do the same thing for this election cycle, I'm sure. When they want to interview with Black men, they don't really talk to Black men who have intelligent, thoughtful opinions, or who actually have the credentials to understand what's really going on with the community. They'll go speak to some rapper. And I'm like, why does this guy with 85 gold teeth and 25 gold chains, who with 18 babies mamas, who can't even spell his mama's name, can't even remember the names of his kids because he's so high and drunk all the time, why in the world did you pick this guy to represent the Black community? Well, that, people, is called controlled opposition. That's what that is. That's one of the terms you might use for that. That's where they say, okay, we'll talk to Black people. We're going to talk to that guy. We don't want to talk to, no, we don't want to talk to him. We want to talk to him and him and him, right? So ultimately, Kanye is, at least from the appearance I'm getting, is he's the uncontrolled opposition. He's the guy that's really not afraid to just be him and express his point of view, which makes him incredibly dangerous, which makes him incredibly powerful, which makes me appreciate about 62% of everything Kanye does and says. About 62%. About 38%, I'm exactly, not 37, 38% of what Kanye says and does is not my thing. I told you I would never marry a Kardashian. I think you're asking for trouble when you sign up with Kim and Chris and all those weird gold digging ladies with fake booties. I also, some of the other shenanigans, I wouldn't be at the Paris fashion show dressed in mud and wearing like ladies' boots and stuff, whatever weird stuff that they wear. I don't care about Louis Vuitton and all that stuff. That's the stuff I don't relate to. But what I do relate to is when Kanye turns into a Black man. When Kanye turns into a Black man, which is about twice a day, I imagine, He does in terms publicly. How about publicly? He's always a black man. But when he turns into a black man, he starts to speak that language of true black empowerment. That tells me, okay, there's something here. There's really something here. And what I'm really also speaking to are the people that are listening, that are watching this happen. I want you to gain your strength from some of this. And this is why I took the time to go ahead. I didn't even plan to even do a podcast episode today. I did it because I said, okay, I need to help amplify this amongst the intelligent black people. You're an army within yourself, and you're an army of super soldiers. You're an army of super soldiers because I would take one intelligent black person over 20 buffoons in a minute. I would take one intelligent black person over 20 athletes and entertainers and all these other people, these high-paid Negroes in a minute. I would literally. So one of you, in my view, because you are clear about who you are focused in terms of your intent, you understand what the community needs, you've been educated at the highest level, you are the super soldiers of the community. You are the talented 10th, not because of how much education you have in public school, not because of how much money you have. I don't care about how much money you have. It's because of the wealth that lies inside your mind. Not only is your gun locked and loaded and very powerful, it is hitting the right target. Pay attention now. Listen, this is an important concept. People don't understand this. It ain't just about having a powerful gun. It's about having, I would take a gun with half that power if I know it's going to hit the mark. We have a lot of powerful guns that either hit the wrong mark, or they're aimed at, or we turn the gun and we aim it at our mother's face. So we have too much potential in the community in terms of highly educated Negroes with all kinds of degrees, PhDs, JDs, BAs, and BSs, and letters behind their name that will go out here and literally use all that power, all that intelligence, all that access to do the exact wrong thing, to advocate for the wrong policies. Like I heard Stacey Abrams today. God bless her. I'm not attacking her. She seems like a smart lady, but I heard her talking about, she mentioned we need justice for African Americans. And I was like, yeah, we do. And then she says, yeah, that's why we need more voting rights. I'm like, what? Come on, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying voting rights are not important, but why the hell do I need a voting right if the people I'm voting for are doing nothing for me? I understand voting rights if I'm voting for someone that's going to advocate for my interests and make sure that my community improves itself. But when my community is not getting better, then what good do voting rights do? Voting rights are good for you. They're good for you because you're going to get reelected. They're not good for me because I'm just giving you power that you're going to use to take care of some billionaires or whoever you take care of. So ultimately, it's about aiming at the right target. So Kanye's tweet today, I thought what was great. I think that it's excellent in terms of us dealing with a culture that is heavily anti-black male. They don't believe that black men like myself deserve the right to speak. That's why I'm speaking to you, say, on the internet, when I'm probably, I had more education at 25 than those people on CNN will ever have for the rest of their lives. So, and I used to be on stuff like that, and I didn't do that stuff because I started seeing the agenda that started really bothering me, because the goal is not to get to the truth. The goal is to promote an agenda. Everybody has an agenda, including me. Everybody has an agenda, including me. And if you don't have an agenda, I want you to figure out what your agenda is, because I believe I'm going to argue to you that your agenda should be the black agenda. And also, this is where Kanye and I are in complete alignment. I believe that your agenda, that the agenda that benefits you, your agenda should be your family's agenda. I believe that your agenda should be a Powernomics agenda. That's it. Do we agree? Give me a yes or no. I imagine you wouldn't be here if you did not agree that a Powernomics agenda would be beneficial for the black community, because then you're talking about two things. The word Powernomics is power and economics merged together, because economics is power. So do you agree that black people need to have power? Do you agree that we need to have power? Give me a yes in the chat. Yes. Yes. Give me some yeses. I need some yeses. Yes, we do. Do you agree that black people need economics? Do you agree that when you have money in your pocket and when you control the resources, not when somebody's controlling resources and giving you crumbs, not when somebody is giving you opportunities that they decide you deserve to have, but when you control the resources and you control the opportunities, you are better off when that occurs. I'm not talking about for everybody aggregately. I'm talking about for in your own damn life. Have you ever known what it's like? How many of y'all know what it's like to go from broke to having a little bit of money in the bank, and how differently you feel when you have a couple of dollars in the bank? How many of y'all know what I'm talking about? How many of you know the power of buying a home and owning a home and walking through the house butt naked going to the shower and thinking, this is my house. I can walk through this house naked and pee anytime I want, invite over whoever I want, tell people to get the hell out whenever I want. That's powerful, man. That's powerful. Or how many of you have known the power of owning shares of stock, knowing that when Disney's making money, I'm making money. When McDonald's is making money, I'm making money. When Google has a good earnings report, my income literally went up because Google's making more money. That's a different kind of feeling. It hits different when you are in that space. So power is intoxicating, is wonderful. And also economics is deeply connected to power. So what I want you to really focus on is understanding that power is the cousin of freedom. Powerful people have freedom because powerful people can do what they want to do. And one of the first things Dr. Claude Anderson does in Powernomics, which everybody should read this book. We're reading it every Wednesday, by the way, in our book club. I'll put the URL on the screen if you guys want to join. It's one of our free classes in the Black Business School because we believe the entire Black community needs to learn Powernomics. I've literally been reading this book word for word for the last 3 years, every single Wednesday night. BlackKeysToGreatness.com. I'll put the URL on the screen. But the thing that Dr. Anderson also does that I really love is in the very beginning, he defined what power is. And he explained something that anybody will understand if you've ever watched a college football game. He explains that power is the ability to pursue your agenda despite the opposition of others. Power is the ability to pursue your agenda despite the opposition of others. And the reason I compare it to a college football game is this. Anybody ever watch, like, when Idaho State is going to play against the University of Alabama or Georgia or some really high-powered team, but they're playing against Idaho State, which it has a bunch of guys that are pretty good athletes, but they can't match Alabama. So what happens at the beginning of the game? Both teams come out ready to go. They're playing in Idaho State. The fans are screaming and hollering. The players are coming out. Yeah, right? They're like pumped up. Like you can't stop them. Like they look like they can't be stopped. Right? And they're like, we're going to get in the end zone. We got our game plan. We're ready. We're going to go kick some ass. To hell with these Alabama boys, right? Alabama, they're doing the same thing. They're like, yeah, we're going to do that. So then they get on the field. And like Mike Tyson used to say, every man has a plan until he gets punched in the mouth. So Idaho State really thought they might have a chance to win this game because they have a perfect plan. They've been working extremely hard. They came out really pumped up. But then they realize they're playing against the University of Alabama, and you start to notice little things in the game that show you who clearly is the dominant team. You see that the Alabama linemen are running over the linebackers and the defensive linemen of Idaho State. The wide receivers are sprinting right past their defensive backs. The quarterback's throwing the ball over their head, and they're getting in the end zone whenever they want to. Idaho State can't move the ball 5 yards. Well, why does that happen? Why does that happen that way? Despite the fact that Idaho State had different plans. It's because of power. It's because of power. Alabama shows up to the game with the ability to pursue their agenda despite the opposition that's coming from the other side. Both sides arrived with an agenda. When white people show up, they got an agenda. When black people show up, we got an agenda. When Asian people show up, they got an agenda. And then just like in that football game, you play it out and you do a game of Powernomics and you say, whose agenda is going to win today? Well, the winner is going to be the team that can pursue their agenda despite the opposition of others. Nowhere in the definition of Powernomics does it say that power is the ability to pursue your agenda with the approval of white people. Never in Powernomics does it say that power is the ability to pursue your agenda assuming that they finally do right by you and stop treating you bad. What would it look like if the players of Idaho State went to the players of Alabama and cried and said, this ain't right. You keep scoring all the touchdowns. Every time we get the ball, y'all won't let us score. We tried to run. We had to fast. Our running backs are fast. Our running backs got black girl magic, and they fast, and they running down the field. And every time they run down the field, all they gonna do is tackle them. Like, how weak would that sound? How pathetic would that sound? How ridiculous would that sound? No, they can't do that because that's not how the game is played. It is a competitive game, and both sides come in with their own agenda with the understanding that if they don't have true power, they will not be able to pursue their agenda on that particular day because we're fighting for a scarce resource. Only one W will be administered that day, and it's going to go to the team with the most power. So sometimes as Black people, you're going to run into situations where team Black people are going to show up, pumped up, ready to play, and you're going to run against a team that's going to be strong. White folks in America are like the University of Alabama football team. They got the power game on lock. Their strategy is level 10. They are prepared. You're playing in their stadium. They even paid off the referees in advance. They have studied you like lab rats, just the same way Alabama studies opposing defenses. They know where your vulnerabilities are. They know how to trick you. They know how to confuse you. They know how to throw you off. They know how to mislead you on every play. They understand you very well, and they're going to exploit every vulnerability they can possibly find. And it's not just because they don't like you. I mean, maybe they don't. No, it's because everybody wants to win the game of power. Alabama doesn't beat the shit out of Idaho State because they hate them. They just beat the shit out of them because they're Alabama and they're supposed to win. They feel entitled to the championship. So Black people, when you're out here talking about, well, we want some money, we want some votes, Black Lives Matter, y'all need to do right by us, just understand your opponent feels fully entitled to every penny that you're demanding for reparations. They're not going, they don't want to hand that money. Well, they're like, well, if you want it, then you're going to have to probably take this because I'm not giving it away easily. Just like Alabama isn't going to give you a touchdown, Idaho State. You're going to have to figure that out on your own. And if you can't figure that out on your own, then you are going to have to simply submit to the idea that we're simply better than you, that we are superior to you. So what I'm saying is, unless you want to submit to that idea that somehow white folks are better than you and that they're stronger than you and that they're supposed to dominate, then you're going to have a struggle on your hands. And I like hanging out with Black people that are committed to the struggle, who understand that this thing ain't going to be easy. Your kids are going to have to be better educated than everybody else's kids. Your family is going to have to be a little more coordinated than everybody else's family. Your mind is going to have to be a little more focused than everybody else's mind. Your legacy plan has to be a little bit tighter than somebody else's legacy plan. You might have to plan a little bit further ahead than somebody else. You're going to have to just go the extra mile. Yeah, when like my grandma, here's the thing. Your grandparents understood this because they didn't grow up with the pleasure of the civil rights movement. They didn't grow up with affirmative action and all these other things. Your grandma probably told you. How many of y'all had a grandma or a grandfather who told you that if you Black, you got to be twice as good to get half as much? How many of y'all had a grandparent that told you that? Somebody old school in your family that told you when you were a little kid that you have to be twice as good to get half as much? I went through that too. My grandmother told me that. My grandmother, she's on our wall. She's our Panther. The Panther's name is Felicia in the Black Business School. My grandmother, Felicia, used to tell me that. And a lot of people will tell you, well, that ain't right. That's not fair. Well, fuck, life ain't fair, man. Life is not fair. If you walk up in this game thinking that you can live in a country that's built on the foundation of the most horrific racism in the history of mankind, that is capitalist to the core, and you expect anything to be fair and you ain't showing up with no power and no money in your pocket, then I feel sorry for you because you're living in a fantasy land. You need to go draw yourself as a cartoon character and go live in Neverland with Peter Pan or something, because that ain't how the world works. So ultimately, what I like seeing Black people who acknowledge reality, but also connect ourselves to the possibilities that exist within us when we get our shit right, when we get our mind right, when we really make a plan, when we really do our best to coordinate. You can't tell me that man's smarter than me. I know how smart I am. I know how smart you are. I know how great you can be. I've seen Black people do things that nobody can do. So why in the world would you ever even submit to the idea that either that you're inferior or that somehow you're going to be given points because the opposition feels sorry for you? Maybe that works for some people. Maybe that's for those little bus kids, but I'm not trying to ride the little bus. I want to drive the big bus. That's what I think we're capable of doing. All right. So in fact, we should build and own the bus. That's what Dr. Claude Anderson teaches. And that's why I believe guys like Kanye and Ice Cube gravitated toward Powernomics, because Kanye's not a guy that wants to go around begging for his power. He goes in there and he takes it. You can learn something from that. He might be a little bit weird at times. He might do some stuff that don't make no sense. I'm not going to lie. 38% of Kanye West, I don't understand. 62%, I get it. I get it. Let's move on. Do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, share, subscribe. I'm going to read something to y'all that I think will help you today. And by the way, there's the book club. If you want to learn Powernomics, we're teaching that for free in the Black Business School. If you're watching on Instagram, the link is in the bio. If you go to blackkeystogreatness.com, it's right there. Also, you get free access to my life class where I pretty much share with you all the philosophies that I believe will make you successful in life. That is totally 100% free from the Black Business School. That's something I didn't want anybody to have. We have to charge money for some stuff because you have to raise money. If you want to do stuff that's independent, you have to raise money. But some stuff we got to do for free because we want as many people as possible to have that experience. So feel free to go to blackkeystogreatness.com and sign up. All right. So before I forget, I mentioned to you all that I would give you all a stock that I like that I just bought. I'm gonna dig it up as I'm talking because I don't want to forget to give that to you. What was it? I know what it was. It was Intuit. That's a tech stock, INTUIT. I don't know the ticker, but I bought some shares of Intuit because I read some research on it and I get a sense that this stock is going to do well. But remember, all these investments that I mentioned to you, this is not investment advice, but these are long-term investments that I'm making. So you're going into an economy that's headed south a little bit. But once it gets better, it's going to be beautiful. I promise you. So just don't be afraid. Like, just go ahead and make your moves now so that when the economy takes off and the market takes off, you'll be prepared. You got to get prepared in advance. Part of a Powernomics plan in your own life is preparing ahead of time. Preparation is the key to success. That's the number one message I give my children every single day as I tell them. Now, again, I'm their bonus dad. So they've got another a regular dad that does all the things that a dad does. He's a great guy. We coordinate on raising these kids. I want to make that clear because I don't want to disrespect him. But ultimately, the number one thing I tell them is I tell them preparation is the key to success. That's it, period. All right, so let me hop in and read. I'm going to read to you guys something from a Dr. Claude Anderson book that you can actually get at his website. His website is powernomics.com. I'll put that on the screen because I think everybody should support Dr. Anderson. And shout out to Kanye because Kanye did tweet. I asked him to tweet out some stuff from Dr. Anderson, and he did it right on the spot. I appreciate that. Also, Ice Cube, I asked him to join with me and partner with me to buy a bunch of books from the Powernomics Corporation to support Dr. Anderson and his work. Ice Cube did that right away. So shout out to both of those guys for putting their money where their mouth is, because you have a lot of people that will say that they support something but won't actually write a check. I respect people that will write a check. And Ice Cube did that. All right, so let me read this to you. In the Black History Reader, this is a great book Dr. Claude Anderson wrote that you can find at powernomics.com, where he talks about, it's called 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. And he asks a bunch of questions about Black history, like, should Blacks form and support their own independent political party? Did the slave codes of 1705 intentionally inflict psychological damage on Black people? Why was it a criminal offense to teach Blacks to read and write? Is the Statue of Liberty an outdated immigration symbol? Is there a voting guide for the average Black American voter? Is Black exceptionalism the unused key to self-empowerment? How does the 1819 Adams-Onis Treaty relate to Black people? Did a real-life monopoly game replace slavery as the primary generator of wealth and power? Should Congress repay the $50 million that federal officials stole from the Freedmen's Bank? What happened to the Black Seminoles and Black settlers in the Trail of Tears March? As political concepts, are gender issues elevated above and in competition with Black issues? So that's the Black History Reader. It's a great book. So this is page 130. And what he does is he gives the Powernomics principles to win in this election. So the 5 things he mentions here are, he says, 6 things. He says, number 1, play to win. He said, politics is a game that decides what group receives which benefits. Blacks should not participate in a game that they can never win. Vote to win and get group benefits, or withhold the group vote. Abstinence, political abstaining, is a strategy. Anybody who tells you different is lying to you. They're manipulating you. They're trying to get something out of you. Screw those people. If you don't feel that you're benefiting from voting for a certain candidate, do not vote for that candidate. Don't vote because somebody scares you. Don't vote because somebody forced you to do it. Don't vote because somebody shamed you. You do what's best for your family. If you don't feel like it benefits your family, then don't you participate. Number 2, he says, negotiate quid pro quo agreements with candidates and parties. Create a list of tangible and measurable benefits your group expects to receive from candidates and political parties in return for the group vote. Number 3, aggregate group resources. Vote as a racial bloc. If no candidate promises group benefits, you should withhold the black bloc vote. He said voting is a team-based activity in which the majority wins and rules. Blacks are a planned and permanent minority. Power and wealth follow the numbers. Build an independent party that uses the block vote to extract group benefits from political candidates regardless of the race of the candidate. Number 4, vote the economic interests of your group first. What blacks own and control determines their rights and opportunities. Use your group vote to control economics and influence and control politicians and political parties. Number 5, support only those who support Black Americans. So do not support any political party, candidate, or business, regardless of color, which will not publicly support Black America. Demand explicit support. So ultimately, one of the things that we do economically and politically is we support a whole lot of people who do not support us. That right there tells me you're a white supremacist. Why in the world would you do stuff for people who wouldn't do the exact same thing for you? There was a guy named Grant Cardone, who is a real estate guy, who wanted to come on my YouTube channel because he likes to hang out with Black people and rappers and stuff. He likes to be cool with Black folks. And when Grant Cardone's people reached out and said, I want to come on your channel, I understood why. It's because I reach over 1 million Black people a week. My PhD's in finance. I'm a financial influencer, among other things. I'd like being a husband and a father more than that, but that's what I happen to be, and that's fine. But one thing that I did was I said, I really don't I don't see any way that I benefit by having you on my channel because I don't care about being associated with you. I don't look to be attached to certain folks, mainstream people, to validate who I am. I am who I am. I value that regardless of whether you recognize me or not. And so me having Grant Cardone on my channel meant nothing to me. But what I did say was I said, okay, let's do a quid pro quo. I told them, I wrote back and I said, sure, Grant can come on my channel after he has me on his. That way I can get on there and talk to his people, because I've taught white people. I taught more white people than Black people when I was at Syracuse. I can break down financial concepts for white people too. And you know what happened? I heard nothing back. And that's kind of what I expected, because in a way, white supremacist ideology, in my view, is one that says, well, because I'm white and I have this big platform, because there's more white people in the world, of course your platform is going to be bigger. You should be honored that I'm acknowledging you and acknowledging you people. And I gave up that game of acknowledgement a long time ago because I realized that is one of the tricks that they play on you as Black people. You're trained to believe that you ain't nothing until those people recognize you, that you don't matter unless they put your stuff on TV or somebody important tells you that you're important too. Like, that's when you start saying, well, I is important. I must be important. I don't give a damn if white media ever knows who I am. I don't care. I don't even like it when they notice me, because I get noticed by the right people. I want to be recognized by intelligent Black people like you. You are the people that I want to talk to. You're the ones that I care about. You're the ones I think about every day. You're the ones that I connect to and relate to. I sit and I talk to some of y'all. I see you in places and I'm like, hey man, yeah, let me tell you, that's crazy what they did, and you get it, right? I don't want to talk to some Oreo cookie who works at a big corporation who's trying to convince me that white is right all the time. I'm past that. I'm 51. I gave up on that 25 years ago. So ultimately, that sort of need to be acknowledged by somebody and letting them screw you and use you because ultimately you're seeking your validation through your connection to them. This happens all the time. It happens in some of your relationships. You got low self-esteem. So you are, because you think you're unattractive. So you're honored that this guy who's like a wealthy senator wants to date you. So you let him treat you like crap, all because you enjoy telling everybody that you're the wife of a senator. Well, if he's a piece of shit that's not treating you right, then that's a low quality human being who's just received these external validations that has distorted your ability to see that you married a piece of crap. You married a crappy guy. And what needs to happen is you've got to learn to love yourself enough to know that, no, you are carrying your magic with you everywhere you go. you're carrying your value with you everywhere you go. You are special because your mama gave birth to you. If you're doing right by your family, right by your kids, right by your people, you're not only special, but you're better than 90% of the assholes that they put on TV because they cooning out loud. Seriously, you got people in Hollywood that get paid to act like buffoons, and somehow we're trained to believe that because they have money and they're on TV, that they're important. That does not make them important. That does not shine the light on a piece of shit, just makes it shiny shit. So I'm not looking up to no shiny shit. Like, seriously, I'm gonna shine regardless. I'm the sun, dude. So that's what it is. So I'm gonna carry that light with me. Black people have to learn how to make our own light. That's my point. I believe that you have to learn how to make your own light, because if you walk around feeling that you're covered in darkness until somebody else shines a light on you, then that's a really lonely world to live in, because then you can't truly seek truth in this world. One thing, then this is one thing, this is, since I'm hard on Kanye at times, let me just say one thing I like about him is Kanye shined his light on himself before anybody knew who the hell he was. I saw an interview with Kanye on CNN in 2001 when he was just then blowing up. Very few people knew who he was. And he literally said to the CNN reporter, he said, if my lyrics are half as good as my beats, I'm gonna murder the game. And I was like, who is this guy? He's very confident. He really thinks he's gonna dominate hip hop. And he did. And he's done it for 20 years. You can't knock that. You can learn something from that. Carry your own light. That way you don't need somebody else's light in order for you to feel that you're worthy. Let me keep going. Number 4, vote the economic interests of your group first. Number 5, only support politicians who support Black Americans. Number 6, these are the Powernomics political principles. Reject intangible symbolic measures as payment for your votes. Demonstrate rejection of the 1870 political code of conduct by demanding explicit support, material and measurable resources that can be touched, counted, and have monetary value. Do not accept implicit, unspoken, assumed, or symbolic support. If the Black vote puts a politician in office, do not accept a basketball court, a street, or a building named after a Black person as an adequate reward. If the quid pro quo political benefit cannot be measured or deposited in the bank, it is unacceptable as an exchange for your votes. I gave you real votes. You gave me symbolism. That's not a fair trade. The 1870 political code of conduct defined the behavior of Black elected officials and unfortunately still guides the behavior of them even today. The code conditioned the politicians, but it also conditioned Black voters and taught them to not vote for their own interest in politics. It conditioned whites to expect that Black voters would not speak for or even name their own group or articulate the needs of the group. It is unconscionable that today in 2017, when he wrote this book, Black politicians and voters have not publicly rejected the conservative behavior required by the old code of political conduct. All right, there we go. So that's that. Now, last thing I want to share with you, hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. We were talking about Kanye West and his mention of Dr. Claude Anderson earlier today. As you can see, we have moved a little bit past that point. But in case you want to know, you can go back to the beginning of the video where I mentioned that Kanye West today was shouting out Dr. Claude Anderson, mentioning that Dr. Claude Anderson and Ice Cube should be in the room together, which I totally agree with. Dr. Claude Anderson and Ice Cube have spoken before. I don't know if they've been in the same room, but I know that they know each other, and that connection is there. So let me show you all something that that Dr. Anderson puts in this book. This is something that you should walk away with in terms of understanding how we're going to take over this power game. This is how we're going to win. Everybody in here, in fact, let me ask y'all this question before I talk about this. How many of y'all have some sort of plan for your legacy? How many of you, I don't know, how many of you have a will or a life insurance policy or an estate plan? How many of you have something in place? How many of you are at least transferring generational knowledge that's going to really empower your kids and grandkids at a high level? Give me a yes. So let me just tell you a little secret. These little plans, when you aggregate them, is part of how we're going to take over the game. You know, it's just like planning for a football team, planning to be able to beat University of Alabama, because that's what white supremacists are. That's what America is. America's like the University of Alabama football team. They're damn good. They score a lot of touchdowns and they play really good defense. They protect the ball very well, but you can beat them with enough planning if you rebuild the right program. But you got to rebuild the program. It's going to take 100 years for us to really get to where I know we're going to get to. In fact, actually, I say 100. Actually, we can do a lot in the next 60 years. 2070 is the year where I believe we're going to have a black person who's going to be in position to possibly be a trillionaire or half a trillionaire or something like that. So here's the 5-story building Dr. Claude Anderson talks about that. And if you're on Instagram, you can't see it, but I'll describe it to you. The 5-story building of power tells you where you need to start and then where you need to go. On the bottom of the building, which is the base of the building, this is the place you start first. He has the economics. Remember, even Kanye had a song where he said, la, 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 wait till I get my money right. La, 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 ain't gonna tell me nothing. Anybody remember that song? Wait till I get my money right. Ain't gonna tell me nothing. So economics means that if your economics are together, you've achieved the first goal toward freedom. There are very few times, the freest person in almost any room in America is the person who has the most money in the bank. Not only do they have freedom to do what they want, but they actually have the ability to control other people. They can actually control others. And the Jewish community understands this very well. That's why they control all those Negroes out in Hollywood. So economics must be that first pillar. What does that look like? That means the economic training has to be one of the most important foundational elements of the education of any black child in America. If your child graduates high school and does not understand the basics of economics, that's not the school's fault. It's not the teacher's fault, because it's not the teacher's job. It's your job. It is your fault. It is your responsibility. If you don't know how to do it, that's okay. Put them on my YouTube channel. Make them watch a couple of videos. I'll teach them everything they need to know. It won't take long. It does not take a lot of training for you to have more economic understanding than the average American, because most Americans, I've studied the data, most Americans are economically stupid. I'm just going to tell you the truth. I've taught in Europe, I've taught in China, and I've compared Chinese students to American students. No comparison. I compared Germans to American students. No comparison. So let's just be clear. Even though America is very strong in terms of power, they're also very weak and lazy, because power can also corrupt you and make you weak and make you unfocused. So ultimately, we get ahead on this economic game, teach your kids little basic things like the importance of ownership, teach them the importance of understanding spending and debt and all this other stuff, so they don't go too deep in debt. They don't get caught in the student loan trap. Teach them basic things like that. Your kids will be way ahead of everybody else. Also, you must leave them an inheritance. You must raise assets for those kids. When you have that newborn baby, your number one mandate isn't just to feed that baby and raise that baby. You must also invest for that baby. That's where the $5 a day investment plan comes into play. If you go to blackmoneyminute.com, that's blackmoneyminute.com, or boycewatkins.com, my website, I have a $5 a day investment plan that will put your child in a position where when they're 25 or 30 years old, they will have more money than 85-90% of all white people. Okay, that right there is the first step. Number 2 is the politics. Politics is driven by economics. There's no politician in America that can ever be elected for anything without having millions and millions and millions of dollars in the bank. So if you want to play the game of politics, you do not play that game by voting. The voters are pawns. The voters are pawns that are purchased. They are purchased through marketing dollars that are given by the corporations and wealthy individuals who understand how this game is played. These are the people that the politicians serve. They do not serve the voters. They serve the people who wrote the check that allowed them to go purchase the voters. You are a commodity. They buy your votes. If Stacey Abrams or any of these politicians don't get the money they need to buy your vote, they can't get elected. So they serve the people who pay the bills, which makes perfect sense. That's what they do. So to play the game of politics, you must first win the game of economics, and then you go into politics. Next is justice. If you control the economics in your community and you control the politics in your community, because you control the economics, then you can get justice. Now, when your kids get pulled over by the cops, they don't get treated like everybody else's kids. Now, when your child gets locked up and they're about to go to trial, you can get the money to go make sure they get a fair trial. You can make sure that the justice in your community comes with the accountability that comes with what happens with wealthy people. Police don't really shoot people in upper middle class neighborhoods. They don't. They shoot poor people who don't have advocates. Your economics is your advocate. Your economic and political power advocates for your right and your ability to obtain justice. Next, he has media. Media is very important. Why? Well, because a lot of our kids' heads are screwed up because they are being exposed consistently to media that degrades Black people, that makes Black people look pathetic, that makes Black people look crazy, that makes Black people look weird. It makes Black women look like masculine hoochie mamas. It makes Black men look like drugged out, doped out buffoons that they can't spell their mama's name, don't respect Black women, and don't even love their own damn kids. The media screws up your kids. And if I go to a lot of public schools, I ask them, what do you want to do when you grow up? Half of them will go, half the Black boys are going to say, I want to be an athlete. The other half are going to say, I want to be a rapper. And where does this come from? This all comes from the media. So Black-owned media is extremely important so that we can have the diversity of images out here so that every little boy ain't trying to be the next LeBron or the next Lil Wayne. There's plenty of other things they can do in life. The fifth part of the 5-story building is education. You got to stop letting those other people educate your kids. Why in the world would you think that you could send your child to be educated by their mortal enemy, by somebody who's afraid of that little boy, who does not appreciate or respect where that boy comes from, who has no understanding of what that little boy needs? Why in the world would you have those people responsible for that child's education and not expect it to end badly? How did you think it was going to end? You look at all the data. Black boys can't read hardly when they come out of school. Little girls that can't read at grade level half the time. Why would you expect anything other than that? These schools are prisons on training wheels. That's what they are. The school to prison pipeline is extremely real. Study after study has shown this. There's no ambiguity about this, people. This is not up for debate anymore. There is no well, maybe this man. No. You've had 40 years of data that has proven the same result consistently, and it kind of makes sense because historically you've been oppressed. Somehow they drew a line of delineation in your head to make you think that being Black in America after 1968 is different from being Black in America before 1968. And one of the things I want to do is I want to smack that reality into your head to let you know ain't a damn thing changed. America didn't stop being America just because Dr. King had a couple marches and the civil rights movement happened. That was wonderful. That was good. Those people paid the price, and I respect them for what they did, but they didn't complete the whole job. They didn't get the job done. They couldn't get the job done because they weren't even focused on the economics. You can't get nothing done in America if you don't understand the economics of America. America is a capitalist country before it's anything else. So if you cannot overpower the capitalism, then game over. The only power you will get is superficial, artificial, and symbolic. You'll never have any real power out there. What are alternatives to the school system? Well, let me say, good question, Damani. You got it right in front of you. What are we doing right now? I am a college professor. You are listening to a college professor. I'm not some Negro on the internet. I'm not just a guy with a YouTube channel. I have a real PhD that you can go Google search right now from The Ohio State University. My wife is a college professor from Florida State University with a doctorate in social. She's a full professor of social work. Has been a licensed therapist for 20 years. We're not the only ones. You have educators in your community with real high-level credentials that are all over the internet. And what I want you to understand is I need y'all to pay as much attention to those people as you give to the rappers. Give as much attention to those people as you give to whatever else you're doing on the internet. The internet ain't nothing but a big university if that's what you want it to be. I'm on the internet constantly. My wife is like, boys, why are you always scrolling? Because knowledge is food for me. I'm an addict. I love to learn. Learning is like a drug. I'm getting high. She don't know she's dealing with an addict, but she's an expert on addiction. So she probably has peeped it out. But seriously, the internet is better. Pay attention now. I'm gonna repeat this because some of y'all haven't heard this. I've taught at the University of Kentucky, Indiana University, Syracuse University, the Ohio State University. I taught in China. I taught in Europe. I've been in universities all around this world. And let me tell you this, there is no university I've ever taught at that was better than what you have in your cell phone. You have a cell phone in your pocket that has all the knowledge that you need, everything you need to know to teach your kids anything they want to know. If you want your kid to be an expert on chemistry, there's probably about 180 million videos on chemistry that your child can watch right now. So with all that knowledge right in your pocket, in your hand, right in your household, why in the hell are you relying on some marginally educated 24-year-old entitled woman from the suburbs who doesn't even understand your child? See, Black education is better than other education because Black education of Black babies comes with love. Love is the glue that connects your situation to your destination. Love is the lubricant that allows people to even accept your ideas in the first place. If a child doesn't believe that you love them, they're not going to listen to you. Do you get it, what I'm saying? Give me a yes in the chat if you understand what I'm saying. If a child thinks you don't care about them, that you can't relate to them, and that you don't like them, you really think they're going to listen to anything you have to say? The answer is no. When I went to school and I made F's and D's on my report card, it was because school was not for me. I did not know those people. Those people did not like me. Those people treated me badly. I don't want to learn from somebody who's mean to me. That's not my friend. That's my enemy. Who wants to hang out with their enemy all day and receive knowledge and information from their enemy? No. School was like prison. It was like a damn penitentiary to me. So that's why I believe the first educator of every Black child in America should be the mother, and the number two should be the father. We need our fathers. I've talked to you guys about this before. But also the mothers. Don't let nobody take your spot as the number one educator of your child. Be intentional about that. That's how you prepare them for battle. Do you get what I'm saying? Give me a yes. Did you get what I'm saying? So I know I didn't waste my time today. And also on Instagram, I'm going to have to say goodbye to you guys in 30 seconds because Instagram is going to wear out and it's letting me know I've been on here for an hour. So it's time for me to shut it down. I hope that this conversation was helpful to you. I hope you learned something. I want to remind everybody, Powernomics.com is Dr. Claude Anderson's website. I hope everybody will go there. And if you've already bought all his books, buy more, give them away. If you're blessed like that, I hope you'll just buy them and give them away as coffee table gifts for anybody that comes to your house. I'd appreciate that because I think he deserves our support that way. Also, don't forget the All Black National Convention is happening October 28th through the 30th in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you'd like to join us at the All Black National Convention this year, which happens in about 3 weeks, you can go to allblacknationalconvention.com if you want to join in person, or if you just go to boycewatkins.com, the virtual tickets are there too if you'd like to just join us virtually. So I hope that this discussion was beneficial to you. I appreciate you listening to me. And to summarize with Kanye West and Ice Cube and everything else, I want to thank those guys publicly for the fact that they've used their platforms for something that is so beneficial to the community. I encourage all the other celebrities out there that have the tens of millions of followers, have that courage to do that. We'll have your back. You got people around the world that'll support you. You got opportunities out here that go beyond whatever Hollywood is giving you. Stand up for something that's worthwhile. Stand up for something that's going to leave a true legacy. Stand up for something that's going to make your people better because you were here than they were without you being here. That's the goal. That's what we're all trying to do. So God bless you, everybody. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Love you. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out the door if you could. We're trying to build Black media here as well, and we can use your support. Also, if you found anything beneficial in this video, if you would take the time, take the link and share it on your social media, that would just mean the world to me. And I appreciate you all very, very much. So God bless you. Have a great day. I'll see you all soon. Talk to you later. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.